The internet hadn't seen chaos like this in years. One moment, everything was calm. The next, a clip of Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson speaking candidly about their years of hidden tension exploded across every platform like a digital earthquake. Fans froze mid-scroll, jaws dropping as Jamie's voice cracked slightly while he said, "We're done hiding." Within minutes, the video spread to millions, and hashtags began trending worldwide. For nearly a decade, their relationship had been a puzzle wrapped in rumor and silence. They were once inseparable on-screen, beloved as the electric duo behind 50 Shades, but off-screen, something shifted. Something deep enough that fans sensed it immediately. Red carpets where they once stood close became events marked by careful distance. Interviews that once flowed with banter became strangely cautious. Audiences whispered, "What changed? What happened between them?" Hollywood insiders built entire narratives around the tension. Some claimed a falling out on set. Others were convinced there had been romantic feelings they could never act on. A few swore Jamie's marriage at the time forced both actors into emotional lockdown. But none of these theories were ever confirmed, and the truth remained locked behind two pairs of carefully guarded smiles. Their silence only intensified the mystery, feeding it for years. Everything changed when a behind-the-scenes video leaked days ago. The clip showed Jamie and Dakota in what appeared to be an intense but hushed conversation backstage at a film festival. They stood close, too close, and their expressions weren't cold or angry. They looked emotional, raw, vulnerable. The internet took one look at it and erupted in speculation that the hidden tension was finally breaking into the open. Neither Jamie nor Dakota said anything at the time, and that silence made the clip even louder. When Jamie finally agreed to an interview addressing the situation, no one expected honesty. They expected deflection, humor, or polite redirection, the same tools he had used for nearly 10 years. Instead, he surprised both the interviewer and fans worldwide when he admitted, "There were things Dakota and I couldn't talk about back then." His voice wasn't defensive, it was tired, tender, and almost relieved. The interviewer blinked in disbelief, realizing this wasn't just a clarification, this was a confession. Dakota followed hours later with her own short video, recorded in her living room with no makeup, no stylist, no media team polishing her words. "We've kept a lot inside," she said quietly. "Not because we wanted to deceive anyone, but because we didn't know how to exist under that kind of pressure." The vulnerability in her tone sent chills across the internet. Fans clipped the video, slowed it down, analyzed every blink and breath. To many, it felt like she was opening a wound she had carried for years. Their admissions ignited the internet into a full meltdown. Comment sections flooded with theories, some ridiculous, some frighteningly accurate. Did they fight? Did they fall in love? Did something happen during filming that forced them apart? Why had they avoided each other for so long only to break their silence now? Endless questions surfaced, and for the first time, Jamie and Dakota didn't try to shut them down. Instead, they promised, "We'll tell the truth." In the next segment of Jamie's interview, he revealed how exhausting it had been to carry years of speculation. He admitted they had both been terrified of the consequences of acknowledging anything real, professionally, personally, emotionally. His eyes softened as he said, "We weren't angry at each other. It was never that." That sentence alone shattered half the theories circulating online. Fans who believed the two had secretly disliked each other suddenly felt a wave of relief. Dakota's explanation added even more depth. She revealed how often she had replayed old interviews, worrying she had said too much or too little. She confessed she avoided eye contact with Jamie at certain events not out of resentment, but out of fear that people would see too much. Her honesty was disarming. It felt like she and Jamie were finally speaking to each other, not just to the public. As the world absorbed these revelations, the energy online shifted rapidly. This wasn't the explosion of a scandal, it was the unraveling of years of emotional suppression. Fans now sensed that whatever happened between Jamie and Dakota was far more complicated than a simple feud or buried affection. It felt like something deep, unspoken, and emotionally charged had been simmering just beneath the surface. And for the first time in nearly a decade, both of them were ready to confront it. What remained now was the question burning in every fan's mind. What exactly was the truth Jamie and Dakota were finally ready to reveal? The world had barely recovered from part 1 of the truth when Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson decided to take things even further. Their decision to stop hiding created a sense of collective anticipation across the internet, millions of people waiting to hear the full story that had been buried for nearly a decade. When Jamie sat down for the second half of the interview, his voice was steadier, his shoulders calmer, as if lifting the weight of their silence had already changed him. The interviewer leaned in, sensing a deeper revelation approaching. And then Jamie said the line that made the entire internet freeze. It wasn't tension because we disliked each other, it was because we felt too much. The host blinked, unsure how to respond, but Jamie didn't stop. He explained that the tension came from emotions neither he nor Dakota wanted to acknowledge publicly. They were young, unprepared, and thrust into global attention that magnified every glance and gesture between them. He admitted that behind the scenes, their connection was dangerously natural, something that made directors pause and crew members exchange knowing looks. But instead of embracing it, both actors pulled away, not from each other, but from the emotions that scared them. Meanwhile, Dakota recorded her follow-up video in a quiet hotel room, sitting on the floor with her back against the wall. She hesitated before speaking, her voice softer than before, almost shaky. "We were afraid," she confessed, staring directly into the camera. "Afraid that if we were honest about what we felt, people would destroy us for it." Her admission sent the internet into chaos because it wasn't just vulnerability. It was confirmation that something had always been there, just outside the frame. Dakota continued by revealing that during filming, she often avoided Jamie not because she wanted distance, but because being near him felt overwhelming. She explained that the more real their connection became, the more she felt the need to hide it to protect his marriage, her career, and the fragile balance they both depended on. She admitted she cried more than once after emotional scenes, not because of the acting, but because she didn't know where the character ended and the reality began. Fans who once accused her of creating drama suddenly apologized in the comments, realizing she had been silently carrying the weight of an impossible situation. Jamie's side of the truth added even more complexity. He revealed how he would sometimes stay in his trailer long after scenes wrapped, trying to regain emotional control. He confessed that he often told himself to shut it down, reminding himself that boundaries were necessary, not optional. But the problem was that their chemistry wasn't manufactured, it was organic, instinctive, and undeniable. The more they tried to ignore it, the stronger it became, manifesting as awkward distance, forced professionalism, and what the world misread as tension. One of the most shocking moments came when Jamie described a specific night during the second film's production. He recalled Dakota knocking on his trailer door after a difficult scene, her eyes red, her voice barely steady as she told him she couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. Jamie admitted he almost said something that would have changed both of their lives forever, but he stopped himself. "I walked away before I crossed a line I wasn't ready to face," he said quietly. It was the closest he ever came to admitting that the tension wasn't anger, it was restraint. Dakota's response to that memory revealed an even deeper layer. She confessed that she walked back to her hotel that night wishing Jamie had said whatever he wanted to say. She admitted she replayed that moment for years, wondering what might have changed if she hadn't knocked on his door. When she smiled sadly and said, "Maybe we were both cowards," the internet erupted again, this time with heartbreak rather than speculation. As the revelations continued, Hollywood commentators began analyzing every detail. Some called it the most honest celebrity confession of the decade. Others whispered that Jamie and Dakota were preparing to make a major announcement. A few insiders claimed this emotional purge was only the beginning of something bigger. But no matter the theory, one thing was undeniable. After years of silence, the truth between them was finally unfolding. The final moment of the interview changed everything. Jamie looked straight into the camera and said, "We hid because we thought honesty would ruin everything. Now I think hiding was what ruined us." Dakota echoed the sentiment in her own video, whispering, "Whatever happens next, we face it together." The internet lost control instantly. Fans screamed that this was a confession of love. Critics called it a turning point. Hollywood braced for impact. Because after nearly a decade of wondering, speculating, and imagining, the truth was finally here. And nothing would ever be the same again.